I get a bit anxious, former chief HR for, there was a Startek, chief country HR for what was it? Tech Mahindra, yes. And some other organizations like that. So we're pleased to have you talking to us.
My pleasure.
Can you just take a minute? Is there any extra things you'd like to talk about yourself before we start?
Yeah, so in terms of my professional journey, I've been into the HR profession for over 20 years, so don't start counting my age because you will determine how old I am at this point. But I've been doing HR since 2002, so I've been supporting BPO companies for over 22 years.
Bravo. And can you tell people a bit about Teleperformance?
Yeah, Teleperformance is one of the largest BPO companies in the world. We have over 500,000 employees globally, and in the Philippines, we have presence over 27 sites with our acquisition of Majorel Philippines. We are now at 60,000 and about to peak because usually the fourth quarter is where we increase our headcount for our programs in the healthcare as well in the retail vertical. So we expect growth, tremendous growth this coming quarter. And we are also the only company that has been certified 7 years in a row as a great place to work organization in the Philippines. And of course, one of the best workplaces in Asia as well.
Fantastic. And on a global level, how many employees does Teleperformance have?
We have about 585,000 employees across the globe.
So Philippines as a percentage of global operations is what?
We are 60,000 in the Philippines. India still is the largest in terms of our headcount. Footprint in India is about over 100,000. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 115,000 in India. And second, of course, which is the largest geo, is the Philippines.
Okay, very good. And you, or the topic you feel is most important is emotional intelligence.
Yes. So a lot of this have already been discussed earlier. And when we talk about emotional intelligence in the era of artificial intelligence, I think it's important as a key differentiation for a lot of our organizations. When you talk about emotional intelligence, you very well, of course, need to consider that you need to understand, manage, and utilize your emotions effectively because it spells out a lot of difference in terms of your brand differentiation in the market, customer loyalty and attraction, as well as employee engagement. So I think in a culture where you'd like to espouse a high-tech and high-touch environment, a lot has been said earlier about this by the previous speakers, but I think it's important to also focus attention on EI, specifically for leaders. When we try to make our services as well as our products really very solidified in the market, we'd also want to ensure that our employees are well equipped, specifically our leaders, with the right tools for them to develop further and make that EI component as part of the culture of the organization.
Okay. Now, I'll just liven up, because I heard a comedian not too long ago talk about emotional intelligence. And what he said was, now it's a joke, okay? But
yes.
What he said is, well, everybody knows IQ, intelligence quotient, but what he said was emotional intelligence is something smart people created to get dumb people to do the things that smart people don't want to do. Now, that's a joke. Okay? But how would you define emotional intelligence, for people who might say that, well, I'm from a technical organization, we technical skills are, and you're talking about emotions. So how do you define that?
Yeah, by very definition of emotional intelligence, it's one's ability to understand, manage, and also to utilize your emotions in a very effective manner. So that's the plain definition, a very technical definition of emotional intelligence. And it's not something that's inherent. It's something that you fully develop over time. That's why a lot of investments, for instance, for Teleperformance, we promote a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. we are a great place to work organization. So a lot of our practices also ensure that we are very much aligned in terms of fairness, transparency in the workplace, and of course a lot of benchmarking as well in terms of the leading companies doing D&I and all other parameters that we need to consider in order for us to maintain our high-touch, high-tech work environment. So it's something that you fully develop over time, but I think what's important here to consider is that the investment on D&I, which is very important. For Teleperformance, we have specific employee resource groups that cater to different interests of our employees. So depending on where they would like to associate themselves with, it's important for them to be their authentic selves, because if you are a happy employee, you feel supported, you are comfortable, then you thrive in an environment where you can be at your best, and productivity is as well duplicated so much that it translates into customer satisfaction. In the environment that we have, we interact with our customers. So that's the usual type of environment. And for HR, of course, we interact with our internal customers, being our employees. Now, for our customer experts, we interact with our clients. It's important for them to also adapt that EI component, because usually we take in calls. Clients would usually be upset about something. They'd like for us to solution for whatever concerns they have over the phone. And so it's important for us to equally spread that kind of culture across the board. So it's not just inherently something that's our leaders could exhibit, but as well translated into the needs of the overall organization, specifically for our customer experts.
Okay, so that's interesting. Now, there's many organizations who they say we can teach the technical skills, so they hire on attitude and teach the technical skills. Because some people, or many people, say that it's very hard to teach emotional intelligence. How do you instill, teach, mentor? How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's important, Richard, to consider that 71% of employees would stay in an organization where they feel that there's a sense of belongingness and there is psychological safety. So I think it translates into a way where we focus on our hiring efforts, for instance, where we have impact sourcing as a way. We measure specifically the number of hires that we get from the marginalized sectors of the society. We track how many PWD employees do we have, how many employees would admit that they are part of the LGBTQIA community, how many are PWD members as well, senior citizens and the like. So we get to empower, track, and the progress as well of our TP women, our Teleperformance women, where we're able to promote them. And we're happy now that we've been closing the gap in terms of movements from within the organization, where we have TP leaders closing to about 45% of our population at Teleperformance Philippines. So we'd like to somehow make it equal playing field for our women leaders in the organization, so that everyone feels accepted and can thrive authentically in the organization.
Okay. Do you have a KPI performance measurement, or how does that work? How do you reward people or managers for their EI initiatives?
Yeah, so we of course have several of our programs who, in partnership with our clients, would like to hire. Monica earlier stressed one of our clients where we had to hire deaf employees. We've hired about 30, and we also have a local, it's a domestic program, who also has a similar project or an LOB where we hire deaf employees. And in our own world, in HR, for example, we have about 10 right now who are interns from the College of St. Benilde, and we're proud that we're growing in terms of the number of hires that we have for impact sourcing. So impact sourcing is a key metric that we have. We track promotions from within, how many from the LGBTQIA who confess that they're part of that group, as well as TP women, which is an ERG from within the organization. So ERGs for TP, we have TP Women as one of the employee resource groups. We also have a TP Pride, and we're proud that last year we've won the Pride Network in the Bahaghari Awards by PFIP. So it's a testament of the efforts of our leaders to really embrace D&I, not just a policy in the organization, but really part of our culture, our DNA.
I see. Okay, good. And within your group, would you have did you have a defined DEI department, or is it just part of everybody's?
Yes, well, it is part of everybody's KPI. We have a dedicated resource group. It's still under the HR umbrella where they cater to D&I initiatives. So our focus efforts for the year, for instance, is PWD. So we've been participating a lot of industry activities that specifically addresses the PWD needs of our employees, as well as ensuring that we are tracking our progress, not only in the number of memberships in this key industry partners that we have, but as well as how many hires do we get from the PWD pool, for instance, that we have within the organization.
Okay, now that's interesting because others have asked me about that. Where do you find these people? I mean, you can't put up a posting, can you? Or what do you do?
Yeah, so I think when you partner with key industries that promote a similar cause, it's a way for you as well to open your arms and really embrace the community. While we, of course, have our own sustainable community, for instance, within Teleperformance, where we have a Gawad Kalinga village that we support, we also have Teleperformance partners with communities like De La Salle College of St. Benilde, where we have the deaf department, where we can get talents from within the department for our needs, whether it's for our operations needs or from the graphics design perspective from our communications and marketing team, for instance. So I think it's important to really ensure that you partner closely, keep your eyes and ears to the ground, and look into how you can network, expand your reach to the community where you can get more talents that can form part of your organization.
Okay, and one question that I am interested in related to emotional intelligence: how do you continue to connect with people when it's in a hybrid workplace?
Yes, it's a very good question, Richard. So sometimes we get to even receive questions or concerns from employees that they get so much surveys. It's a survey fatigue. But again, it's a very important tool for us to really measure, really pulse our employees. So internally, we have a sentiment survey that we brand where we get to hear from employees, and our target is to top our employees 30% of our population. And we're proud consistently in the Philippines where we have 35% participation from among the entire 60,000 employees each month. So we get to hear from them. It's simply a mood meter of their emotions for the day. And there's a very quick turnaround time for us to address concerns that we get. And in fact, we've been able to save lives. For instance, one of our employees would say, I am not feeling well. I think I need to end my life. So there's a very quick turnaround time. There are key alerts in that tool that would prompt us immediately and do the necessary intervention. So we're not experts, unfortunately, in HR addressing such concerns, but we do have employee assistance program partners and our expert counselors who can provide the needed intervention. So that's one of the tools that we have. It's a sentiment survey. It's a quick turnaround time for us to address. I extract the information daily. We look into the key alerts and whether it's something that HR can immediately address, or do we need to partner closely with operations or the line leaders to ensure that they are also up to speed in terms of addressing these interventions. And we don't have to wait for the annual Great Place to Work survey or ESAT survey to happen, because that mood meter or sentiment survey is a way for us to immediately address the concerns of the employees, and that has helped us a lot significantly in getting recertifications year on year for Great Place to Work.
Fantastic. And maybe if you can, just the the hybrid scenario you have currently? How many people are working, and how does it?
Yeah, it's about 30% of our population is hybrid. We have a cloud campus. It's a cloud campus where we get to hire not just within the dense population of Metro Manila, for instance, where we have most of our sites, but we spread our presence across the provincial locations. For instance, in Mindanao, we have a facility. It's a microsite facility in Jensan, and we also have one in Lawag in the North Luzon area where our employees can apply, get the initial support from that site, but eventually they work from home. In other areas, it can be miles away from either Lawag or Jensan. So it has helped us a lot in terms of increasing our hiring output because we're able to tap in other markets that have not been contacted or reached out by a lot of our the BPO providers, and that's one of the ways we connect with the employees and really ensure that our footprint in terms of tapping into talents within the Philippines is larger in scope. Another, of course, apart from doing the sentiment survey to keep our connection very well, is to ensure that we connect with them through town hall sessions, whether virtually. For my team, for example, I make it a point that at least once or twice a week we are on site as a team where we celebrate.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. To at least connect with each other on updates, feedback, and it creates that sense of belongingness that they are still part of the organization. By the way, I was hired by Teleperformance in the middle of the pandemic in September 2020. So I've not seen my team physically for more than a year. So I've only met them when there was already a relaxed pandemic at that time where there was a semblance of normalcy, and imagine how interaction was very limited at that time, but we've pulled it off, I would say. Attrition during that time was at our lowest point in the history of the organization. So it's constantly touching base with our employees through connect sessions and ensure that when we meet each other, we get to utilize time for celebrating achievements, recognizing each other's accomplishments, and making a team lunch or a team dinner would really help. And of course, there are a lot of engagement activities for our work-at-home employees. They can attend virtual Zumba classes. We have an employee assistance program that they can contact to round the clock 24/7 as well for any assistance that they have. And our systems does not only cater to our employees who are working on site, where we also have an internally branded tool which is called TP Link, where employees can connect to HR on a 24/7 basis.
I see. So now you're a very personable group with your people. So once or twice per week, you said you get together. But the people in Loag and Jensan, they work outside the cities. How often would they come and join with other people physically?
Yeah. So one of the things that we're doing right now is our participation in BPO Olympics, for example. So any employee, even from the far-flung areas of Mindanao who would like to participate in the BPO Olympics are invited to join in that sports fest. And another thing, of course, for us is for the folks, for example, in my team, when we really gather once a week, we share not just the highlights of what we have achieved so far from a workplace perspective, but how is everything going on in your personal life? And it's something that we can, of course, share because our presence should not only be confined within the offices. The leaders, for instance, myself, I make it as a commitment to go around the sites. For this week, I've been to several sites. For instance, in one of our site walkthroughs, we visited one of our clinics in Silver City, and employees would usually raise the concern that I'd like a branded medicine, for example. So to further educate them, we publish the generics law in the Philippines. We tell them that the medicine is equally as effective as the branded ones, only that it's manufactured by a different provider, or whether locally. So there are a lot of sessions that we can do to really listen, connect, touch base, and ensure that our employees' pulse are well addressed.
Okay, very good. We have a lot of respect for Teleperformance. And just to, when we close up, but who do you have with us today?
Yes, so I'd like to, of course, acknowledge our HR Director, Ray Almeda, and Nash Frias, our CNM Director, and then Jeremy De Vera, our HR Senior Manager as well. And of course, one of our alumnus of Teleperformance, Mr. Ritesh, and of course, part of the Teleperformance group is Monica Morali.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay, very good. Okay, we really have, like I said, it's great watching.
Thank you.
You know, these premier organizations, and we're really glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, JC. Really, really nice.